are so many great stories to be told through our local sporting.
You can find IL Sports Wire on your preferred social media platforms.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today is Mrs. Mary Vogt, Superintendent of Bement Schools. Mrs. Vogt, good to see you. Are you staying warm out there these days?
Hey, we're trying to, Seth. It's a little bit of a challenge, but thankfully our boiler's running again. So there's that.
Yeah, you were telling me before we got started, you've had a lot of issues facilities wise that have kind of taken up some of your e-learning / cancellation days already, in addition to having to do so for snow and cold.
Right. Yes. And that's something we try to communicate to families in the fall. I don't want to wait until it becomes an issue later as the weather gets colder. So in the fall, we communicate just some of the reasons why we might need to be out of school, either an e-learning day or use one of our emergency days. So one of those reasons is if something is wrong with the facilities. So that could include maybe the boiler, maybe, if a pipe bursts or something like that. It's nice to have that e-learning plan approved so that, in December, we used 2 days because our boiler wasn't working. So students were still able to participate remotely, which it looks different depending on the grade level. But, our younger students, they do have work sent home, and teachers will schedule time to check in via Zoom. But we try to be mindful of the fact that our younger students aren't as independent online. And so, if parents are working, the student is with a babysitter, we want to make it somewhat flexible so that the work that we're asking them to do can be done possibly during that, school day time, but it might need to be done in the evening as well. But then as we get with our older students, then yes, there is that time where they connect via Zoom with teachers.
Yeah. Well, and I guess let's start at the kind of the real root question of when you have a day where you have to call off school, again, whether it's the cold weather or it's the the boiler issues or something else happens to your facilities, God forbid. How do you make the decision of, all right, today we're going to cancel or today we're going to go e-learning? How does that decision come about for you?
And really it depends on the circumstances as a whole. At the same time that we were having boiler issues, the village of Bement was without water for over 24 hours. And so I knew that if the water issue wasn't resolved, then we would not have had an e-learning day, because chances were maybe families were going to stay somewhere else, or, it just that additional hardship on top of e-learning. I did not want to put families in that position. So in that case, if it was something like no water, if a storm had come through that would knock out power, I feel like those are instances where we would use an emergency day instead of an e-learning day, because e-learning does require responsibility for families outside of the traditional school time. And I don't think it's fair to expect families to also try to help manage that e-learning when there are other things happening that are causing hardships. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I also wonder how much of a challenge is access to internet in your district.
Right. And we are very fortunate. We use grant funds to pay for hotspots. So, if we know that somebody doesn't have internet access, then we do provide them with a hotspot. But if there was something that knocked out, like I said, power or internet community wide, then it's not reasonable to expect people to participate in e-learning.
Right.
So, that old phrase, common sense, that sometimes isn't so common. I try to use common sense when those decisions are made.
And no matter what you do, you're not going to please everybody, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
I had a conversation with Mr. Ibbenson down at Maroa. I was really impressed with the way he is approaching reforming e-learning in his district to, make it more rigorous, where it's like, okay, we're going to e-learn today, but we're going to learn today,
Yes. Yes.
whereas, and not to say that this is a trend in the, within the soups that we talk to on
Sure.
the show, but I just kind of feel like there's a lot of places where e-learning is just kind of a e-learning, so we can say we did the day, and we sent home packets, and that's about it.
Right.
So how about just making e-learning an actual day where you're exercising the brain power and
Sure.
get the
Sure.
juices flowing academically. How about that?
Yeah. What we do for our middle school and high school students is we follow their schedule for the day, but we don't do the entire class period. So it's 20-minute increments where they log in, work with their teacher for a first period for 20 minutes, couple-minute break, log in, work with their second period teacher for 20 minutes. So it's that opportunity where the teachers have already uploaded the required assignment in Google Classroom. So the students have access to it. The teacher has their instruction time. And we work through our 7-period day by 11:30. And then the afternoon time is reserved for students and teachers who need to connect individually for additional help. So students are able to reach out to teachers and say, you know what, I really didn't understand that when we went through it this morning. Can you help me? So, for our middle school and high school students who have that 7-period day, they do make contact with those teachers during an e-learning day. And then again, for our elementary students, 4th and 5th grade, there are scheduled times to work with the teacher, but to do a completely synchronous where, from 8:10 to 3:15, we would have students logged in with teachers. I don't think that's reasonable either, because if you think about it, during a school day, there's passing time. There, for the little ones, there's recess time. There's independent practice time. So during a school day, there are breaks in the schedule. So I think it would go too far to say from 8:10 to 3:15, students need to be logged in and locked in. I just, that's not reasonable. It's not what we do during the day.
Sure. Again, Mrs. Mary Vogt is the superintendent of Bement Schools, our guest on the Zoom here for today. And, I wonder how much work has the district put in. I don't know if this was, something that preceded your time or not, but how much work have you put into making sure e-learning is something that is a good exercise for your kids, and not just like we've talked about, not just a day where it's like, okay, we said we did e-learning, but nothing really happened that way.
So we touch base on it as an administrative team at the start of the year, and then interestingly, I have a teacher who's taken it upon herself. This is my 4th year here. Each year she has surveyed her students, and she works with students kindergarten through 12th grade. So she has surveyed students with, trying to get their thoughts and their responses, and students understand e-learning keeps them learning without having to make that day up at the end of the year. And so knowing, that we have that pulse on the student feeling, I've reached out to a few families. I have some that are adamant, please keep my kid in your building at all costs. I don't want an e-learning day. I don't want a traditional snow day. Just make my kids go to school. That's not always the safest choice, though.
Right.
So, a little tongue in cheek with those responses. Others just want those traditional days. They don't want their kids to have to do anything if they're not at school. And then others like the e-learning because it gives their kids something to do when they're at home. So, like you said, we're not going to keep everyone happy, but we try to be mindful of what families need.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. Well, and so assignments that were given on Monday, oftentimes teachers will say you have until the end of the day, Tuesday, to get that turned in, because maybe there was connectivity issues. Maybe, nobody was home who was able to help. And so, we just try to be very understanding. Not blow assignments, but give you some time.
Well, and I tell you, Mrs. Vogt, we had an instance. I mean, fortunately, Clinton canceled school, but had they gone to e-learning on Monday, I don't know what we would have done, because we had new internet installed at our house, and when the snow plows went through, it was dropped. It wasn't the line was dropped. It wasn't buried. And the easement for the internet was in the alley behind our house. Well, when the snow plow went through, cut off the internet. We didn't have internet Monday. So, I don't know what we would. I mean, that was kind of an extenuating circumstance. Wasn't something that's going to regularly happen for us. But just kind of freak little things like that come up for people who generally have reliable internet. So, yeah.
And I think what I would say in that situation is, my hope is that families would feel comfortable reaching out either directly to the teachers or to the building administrators to say, here was our circumstance. What can we do to get this work taken care of? For the most part, if a school employee knows what's happening and knows that there's a hardship, they're going to work with the family. It becomes frustrating, though, when things just, like, say that those assignments didn't get done and then there was no communication about why they didn't get done. Then, if we don't know better, we can't do better.
I'll say this, Mrs. Vogt, and we'll wrap up this segment. I overstated it a little bit. My phone can be a hotspot, and I tested the signal for it, and it was perfectly fine. The issue I would have had is then my kids would have known that we could access the internet with my phone. And we would have had to connect all the devices and the TVs, and that's a can of worms I wasn't ready to open up. So yeah. By the way, you take internet away from kids, you might as well live in the Stone Age with these children. I mean, it is crazy the way they act. It is unbelievable. So
well, I like to tell them that I grew up last century, and so just go easy on me with my old-fashioned ideas.
Oh, very good. We miss anything in that conversation, Mrs. Vogt, you want to put out there?
No.
Very good. How do folks learn about your district, follow along with all the things going on, including maybe transitions to e-learning days because of weather? How do they find those details?
Sure. It's www.bement.k12.il.us.
Mrs. Mary Vogt is the superintendent of Bement Schools. Our guest on the Zoom. More to come with Mrs. Vogt on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat starting the day in the red. March corn opening 428 down 2 3/4. May corn down 2.5, 436.5. December new crop 456.5 down 2.5. March beans opening 1067 down 5 1/4. May beans down to nickel 1080 3/4. November new crop 1084.5 down 5 1/4. March Chicago wheat 541 down 1/2 penny. May wheat down 3/4 549.5. July wheat 559 3/4 down a penny. March KC wheat 546 3/4 down 1/4. March bean meal 294.80, that's down $1.20, and March bean oil 53.76 down 27 cents. Opening numbers on this Friday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
This is Inside.
Happy New Year from all of us here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. This is Scott Baum. Most of our customers trade for a different SUV or truck because their needs change each year. That's good because we have transportation options for you. Plus, we need your trade. Our selection of top quality pre-owned trades come from you. Come see our ever-changing Chevrolet and Buick inventory today. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today, Mrs. Mary Vogt, superintendent of Bement School. Said that a little too fast there. Mrs. Vogt, as always, thanks for making time for us. And telling me before we got started this morning, the Board of Education, you and your board, going to embark on some strategic planning. What's that look like? Where's this process at? Why are you doing this?
Sure. Well, for our district, we are very fortunate to have a very collaborative and supportive board. And we typically, the whole board will go to the school board conference in Chicago each year. And a couple of years ago, some board members went to sessions about strategic planning and SMART goals and asked why we didn't have it. And so I said, well, we can. So we started that process. A strategic plan is a great way to make sure that the district has focused goals that then determine what, professional development plans would be put in place, and just really a roadmap for the district. And so we started the process by having a representative from the School Board Association come in and do a study session with the board and administration and narrow down what goals we would like to focus on. And then we're at a point now where we are working on how we will be held accountable for each of those goals, meeting with different interest groups to get those accountability pieces included in the plan. And the idea is that we will have this approved by the June board meeting to then be in place for the next 3 years. So unofficially, my retirement date will be June of 2029. And so one of the reasons this is important to me is because I feel like it will help the next superintendent come in and know what the district's focus is and what work has already been done. So I feel very strongly about, creating a strong succession plan so that the next person who comes into the district can really just build on all of the success we have had.
So we only have 3 years of interviews left?
We do. I
Well,
know.
that's not good.
Let's make the best of
What's
them.
3 times 12? 36,
36.
right? So roughly
Right. And then,
roughly 30, 40, 36, 40 interviews left.
yeah.
All right. No skipping dates. Well, I guess we skipped the summer. No skipping dates on me otherwise, Mrs. Vogt.
Okay.
All right.
You got it.
Yeah. Thank
You got it.
Thank you for that commitment. All right. So strategic planning, did you say when the last time the district did strategic planning?
I am not sure when it was done.
Okay. I know Mrs. Greenwood was a
I-
planner, so
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even though there wasn't an official strategic plan that I've been able to find, doesn't mean that there weren't plans.
right, exactly, yeah.
But this makes it more formal. And part of the plan includes monthly at board meetings, the accountability piece. Where are we with this part? So, for example, one of our goals is to develop a plan to offer curriculum and opportunities that challenge and equip students for growth. Should every district be doing that anyway? Yes, absolutely. But now having it written as a goal for our strategic plan, then we have the steps that we will take in order to reach that goal. And so it brings the accountability back into it, which I feel like I keep repeating, but that's, to me, in a nutshell, why you have a strategic plan is, here's the direction we need to go. And now, have we done what we said we would do? And then once we've done it, well, what next?
Mhm.
So with working on curriculum, our middle school and high school staff have done a great job taking a look at how the school day has been structured and what they might be able to do to enhance the instruction.
Mhm.
So Mr. Kepley, our middle school, high school principal, meets with his staff once a month. And one of the things that came out of that discussion a year ago was going from a 7-period day to an 8-period day.
Mm.
And by going to an 8-period day, then we could offer more courses and more opportunities for students.
Mhm.
Right now, if we have students who take dual credit classes, they either have to go to Parkland or participate online. I have 2 staff members who are working towards certification to become dual credit certified teachers.
Mhm.
So really just being able to enhance what we already offer.
Mhm.
Along with curriculum, we want to make sure that we continue our positive community relations. We have a great partnership with our Bement Foundation here in town, and then local businesses. If people aren't familiar with EdgeGuard or SimTech, these are 2 businesses that were started by local families that provide materials and supplies for people globally. And so we have these two amazing businesses in town that are so supportive of our school district. EdgeGuard last week, they reached out to say, you know, we got these 3D printers in. We can only use 2 of them. Would the school like the rest of them? Yes, please. Thank you. You know, so keeping those positive community relationships is something else that we are writing into our plan. And then district finances, you know, you and I have talked about, there's a lot of uncertainty with federal funding, with some of the grant monies that we have relied on. And so developing budgets for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years down the road, and just trying to make reasonable projections so that we spend money wisely. You know, with some of the COVID money that came in, I think school districts were able to spend money that they typically don't have access to. So we need to get back down to reality. And here's the money we have and how we need to responsibly spend it.
Get back to reality. I feel like that's a theme for society right now. But
Isn't
that's
it?
let's do that conversation another time, Mrs. Vogt. Yeah.
How about in 3 years, you can have me on
man.
when I am not in the role of a
A
superintendent.
no holds bar interview with Mrs. Vogt. That would be classic.
And mainly what I want people to do is just be nice to each other. Just be nice.
Just be nice.
And if somebody hurts your feelings, just say, hey, that really hurt my feelings. And don't talk about them behind their back. There you go. There's just a little preview on our no hold card.
Man, Mrs. Vogt went off script there. Very good.
Yeah.
Well,
so back to, you know, our facilities. You and I were kind of talking about this before the interview. You know, I had a procedure on my foot. I'm, you know, 7 weeks post-op and finally out of a cast, but I can't navigate stairs yet. Well, we don't have an elevator.
Sure.
So I'm housed in our server room.
Mrs. Vogt, I don't mean to do this to you.
No, we're done.
I have to cut you off. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Mrs. Mary Vogt, Superintendent of Bement Schools, our guest on the Zoom Network News comes your way next.
WHOW.